The Silent Mistakes That Let Others Control You, Stoicism Part 1. Awakening to Invisible Control 1. Seeking approval from others. One of the most silent yet powerful ways people lose control over their lives is through the constant need for approval. It often begins innocently, wanting to be liked, respected, or accepted. But over time, this desire grows into dependency. You start measuring your worth based on how others react to you. A compliment lifts your spirit, while a small criticism lingers in your mind for hours or even days. Without realizing it, you begin to shape your behavior, your opinions, and even your personality to fit what others expect from you. This is where control quietly shifts. The moment your emotional state depends on others, they gain influence over you. You hesitate to speak your truth because you fear disapproval. You avoid making bold decisions because you worry about judgment. You begin to live not as your authentic self, but as a version of yourself designed to please others. This is not freedom. It is silent submission. Stoicism teaches that the opinions of others are outside your control and therefore should not determine your inner peace. What people think about you is a reflection of their own perspective, not your value. When you internalize this truth, something powerful happens. You detach. You stop chasing validation and start building self-respect. True confidence is not loud or boastful. It is quiet and independent. It does not beg for attention or approval. When you free yourself from the need for validation, you reclaim your power. You act based on your values, not on the expectations of others. You speak honestly, live boldly, and make decisions with clarity. And in doing so, you become someone who cannot be easily controlled, because your sense of self is no longer in the hands of others. 2. Fear of discomfort. Fear of discomfort is another silent mistake that allows others to control you without resistance. As humans, we are naturally drawn to comfort and safety. We prefer situations that feel easy, predictable, and free from tension. But this desire for comfort can become a weakness when it prevents you from doing what is necessary. You may avoid difficult conversations, suppress your opinions, or tolerate disrespect simply because you want to avoid conflict or emotional unease. This pattern creates an environment where others can easily step over your boundaries. When people realize that you are unwilling to face discomfort, they may take advantage of it, sometimes consciously, sometimes unconsciously. You may find yourself saying yes when you want to say no, staying silent when you should speak, or accepting less than you deserve just to keep the peace. Stoicism challenges this mindset by teaching that discomfort is not something to fear, but something to embrace. Growth does not happen in comfort, it happens in challenge. Every time you face a difficult situation with courage, you strengthen your character. You prove to yourself that you are capable of handling more than you thought. And with each step, you become less afraid. Discomfort is temporary, but the consequences of avoiding it can last much longer. When you consistently choose comfort over truth, you slowly lose your sense of self. But when you face discomfort with strength and clarity, you take back control. You become someone who is not easily intimidated, manipulated, or silenced. In the end, freedom is not found in comfort, it is found in courage. The more willing you are to face discomfort, the less power others will have over you. And that is where true strength begins. 3. Emotional reactivity. Emotional reactivity is one of the most overlooked ways people lose control over their lives. It happens in moments that feel small, when someone says something that irritates you, when a situation doesn't go as planned, or when you feel misunderstood. Instead of pausing, you react instantly. You raise your voice, send that message, or make a decision driven purely by emotion. In that moment, it feels justified. But in reality, you have handed control over to the situation or the person who triggered you. When your emotions control your actions, you become predictable. And when you are predictable, you are easy to manipulate. People who understand your triggers can push you in certain directions simply by provoking a reaction. This is how control operates silently, not through force, but through influence over your emotional responses. Stoicism teaches the importance of mastering your inner world. It emphasizes the power of the pause, the space between stimulus and response. In that space, you have a choice. You can react impulsively, or you can respond with reason and clarity. This discipline is not easy, but it is powerful. When you learn to observe your emotions without immediately acting on them, you gain control over yourself. You begin to respond thoughtfully instead of reacting blindly. You become calm in situations where others expect you to lose control. This not only protects your peace but also makes you less vulnerable to manipulation. Emotions are natural, but they should not be your master. When you take control of your reactions, you take control of your life. And when no one can dictate how you respond, no one can truly control you. Part 2. The hidden habits that weaken you. 4. Lack of clear personal values. A person without clear values is like a ship without a compass, easily influenced and constantly drifting. When you don't define what you stand for, you become vulnerable to external pressures. You may find yourself agreeing with others just to fit in, changing your opinions depending on the environment, or making decisions that don't truly align with who you are. This lack of clarity creates instability. Without strong internal guidance, you rely on external cues to navigate life. You look to others for direction, approval, and validation. And in doing so, you slowly give away your control. Your life becomes shaped by circumstances and influences rather than intentional choices. Stoicism emphasizes living in alignment with reason and virtue. It encourages you to define what truly matters: your principles, your standards, and your purpose. When you have clear values, decision-making becomes easier. You no longer feel lost or uncertain because you have a foundation to stand on. People with strong values are difficult to control. They are not easily swayed by trends, opinions, or pressure. They remain grounded, even in challenging situations. Their actions are consistent because they are guided by something deeper than temporary emotions or external expectations. When you take the time to define your values, you create a sense of identity that cannot be easily shaken. You know who you are, what you believe, and what you will not tolerate. This clarity gives you strength, confidence, and independence. In a world full of noise and influence, your values become your anchor. And when you are anchored, no external force can easily move you. 5. Over-explaining yourself. Over-explaining is a subtle habit that often comes from insecurity or the need to be understood. You may feel the urge to justify your decisions, defend your choices, or provide long explanations for your actions. On the surface, it may seem harmless, even polite, but in reality, it can weaken your position and invite unnecessary judgment. When you constantly explain yourself, you signal doubt. You give others the impression that your decisions require approval or validation. This opens the door for them to question, criticize, or influence your choices. Instead of standing firm, you place yourself in a position where you feel the need to convince others. Stoicism teaches simplicity and confidence. Not every action requires an explanation. You are not obligated to justify your life choices to everyone around you. When you are clear about your intentions and values, your actions speak for themselves. Silence, when used wisely, is a powerful tool. It shows confidence, self-assurance, and clarity. It allows you to maintain control over your narrative without inviting unnecessary interference. This does not mean you should never communicate or explain. It means you should do so with intention, not from a place of insecurity. When you stop over-explaining, you reclaim your authority. You make decisions based on your own judgment, not on the need to be understood by everyone. You become more grounded, more confident, and less influenced by external opinions. In the end, your life is yours to live, and you don't need to explain it to anyone who is not walking your path. 6. People-pleasing. People-pleasing is one of the most common and dangerous habits that lead to loss of control. It often disguises itself as kindness, generosity, or empathy. But at its core, it is driven by fear, the fear of rejection, conflict, or being disliked. This fear pushes you to constantly prioritize others at the expense of yourself. You say yes when you want to say no. You go out of your way to make others comfortable, even when it makes you uncomfortable. You avoid expressing your true thoughts because you don't want to upset anyone. Over time, This creates a pattern where others begin to expect your compliance. They rely on your willingness to give in, and without realizing it, they begin to control your time, energy, and decisions. Stoicism teaches balance and self-respect. It encourages you to care for others without losing yourself in the process. True kindness is not about self-sacrifice to the point of exhaustion. It is about acting with integrity and fairness, both to others and to yourself. When you set boundaries and honor your own needs, you create healthier relationships. You teach others how to treat you by how you treat yourself. Respect is not demanded. It is demonstrated through your actions. Breaking free from people-pleasing requires courage. It means accepting that not everyone will like you, and that is okay. What matters is that you remain true to yourself. When you stop living for the approval of others, you take back control of your life. You become more authentic, more confident, and more free. 7. Dependence on external circumstances. Many people unknowingly surrender control of their lives by allowing external circumstances to dictate their emotions. When things go well, they feel happy and motivated. But when things go wrong, their mood collapses. This creates a fragile emotional state that is constantly at the mercy of the outside world. Life is unpredictable. Situations change. People behave unexpectedly, and outcomes don't always go as planned. If your peace depends on these variables, you will constantly feel unstable. This instability makes you reactive and vulnerable to influence. Stoicism offers a different perspective. It teaches that while you cannot control external events, you can control how you respond to them. Your thoughts, your attitude, and your reactions are within your power. This shift in focus creates inner stability. When you learn to maintain your peace regardless of circumstances, you become resilient. You are no longer shaken by every setback or challenge. You remain calm, focused, and grounded. This inner strength is what protects you from being controlled. When your emotions are not tied to external events, others cannot easily manipulate you through situations or outcomes. True power comes from within. And when you master your inner world, the external world loses its ability to control you. Part 3. Reclaiming your power. 8. Avoiding responsibility. Avoiding responsibility is a silent habit that gradually takes away your power. It often appears in the form of excuses, blaming others, blaming circumstances, or blaming bad luck. While this may provide temporary relief, it comes at a cost. Every time you shift responsibility away from yourself, you also give away your ability to change your situation. When you believe that your life is controlled by external factors, you become passive. You wait for things to improve instead of taking action. This mindset keeps you stuck and dependent. Stoicism teaches the principle of radical responsibility. It emphasizes that while you cannot control everything that happens, you can always control how you respond. This perspective shifts your focus from what is outside your control to what is within it. Taking responsibility does not mean blaming yourself for everything. It means owning your actions, your choices, and your responses. It means recognizing that you have the power to influence your life through your decisions. When you embrace responsibility, you become proactive. You stop waiting and start acting. You take control of your path and your future. Responsibility is not a burden. It is a source of power. And when you fully accept it, you become someone who is no longer controlled by circumstances, but guided by intention. 9. Lack of boundaries. A lack of boundaries is one of the clearest ways people lose control over their lives. Without boundaries, there is no clear line between what is acceptable and what is not. This creates an open space where others can take advantage, sometimes intentionally, but often simply because the limits are not defined. You may find yourself constantly overwhelmed, drained, or taken for granted. People may expect too much from you, interrupt your time, or disregard your needs. This happens not because people are always malicious, but because boundaries have not been established. Stoicism teaches self-discipline and self-respect. Boundaries are an extension of both. They protect your time, your energy, and your mental peace. They allow you to prioritize what truly matters without being pulled in every direction. Setting boundaries requires clarity and confidence. It means saying no when necessary, even if it feels uncomfortable. It means standing firm in your decisions without feeling guilty. When you establish boundaries, you teach others how to treat you. You create a structure that protects your independence. And most importantly, you take back control of your life. Boundaries are not about pushing people away. They're about creating space for respect and balance. 10. Comparison and overthinking. Comparison and overthinking are silent habits that can deeply affect your sense of control. When you constantly compare yourself to others, you shift your focus away from your own journey. You begin to measure your worth based on someone else's progress, achievements, or lifestyle. This creates dissatisfaction and self-doubt. At the same time, overthinking traps you in a cycle of endless analysis. You question your decisions, replay conversations, and imagine worst-case scenarios. This mental loop creates hesitation and prevents action. Stoicism teaches clarity and focus. Your path is unique, and your progress should be measured by your own standards. Comparison distracts you from your purpose, while overthinking delays your growth. Action is the antidote. When you take consistent steps forward, you break free from the cycle of doubt. You build confidence through experience, not through endless thinking. When you stop comparing and start acting, you reclaim your time, your energy, and your direction. You become focused, intentional, and grounded. In the end, control is not about perfection. It is about progress. And when you focus on your own journey, you take back the power that comparison and overthinking once took from you. If this message has opened your eyes, then you are already on the path to reclaiming your power. For more powerful insights that will transform your mindset and help you build discipline, confidence, and true independence, make sure you subscribe to this channel. Stay consistent, stay focused, and continue your journey towards self-mastery.